All right, what's up, everybody? It's Tiny Housin Volume 36, and all these videos are out of sync, but got the red rocket ready to go. Got some new brake pads, new brake cables, and I got the silver bullet ready to go. I'm actually going to be riding this one tomorrow. But as you can see, my place took a hit today a little bit. I'll be cleaning this up before I go to bed to an extent. But I woke up today. I went to Home Depot. I had to get some parts, some bolts and nuts to make a makeshift tool to fix part of my bicycle. And I'll talk about that some other time. And also came back. I did all the work on 2 different bikes. That lasted from about noon until about 5 o'clock. And then I came back in, grabbed my grocery backpack, and headed to the grocery store. And I'm done. I'm dead. So my little bicycle workshop, when I'm working on the bicycles, I take this portable table. That's a folding table. It folds down into a really compact size. You see the 4 slats here. One slat represents the width and height that it takes up after you collapse all the legs down to as small as they go and fold the thing up, and it fits in a tiny little bag. So I use that table. That's my side table next to my camping cot. But that table also doubles as my bicycle workshop, my portable bicycle workshop table. So I had that over on the back patio today. Obviously, a bicycle pump. This is how small my bicycle work stand folds up, that I normally store it under the bed. It's the best place to keep that out of the way. That's my bicycle tool bag, and then these are just some chemicals that I use to clean the bicycle. And I think that pretty much covers it. So I had that all set up today. Oh, and this little thing here, that's basically a little folding stool that you can sit on. I use it as like a little side table. That's the reason I actually bought the thing, to use as a little side table. But I use it when I'm working on the bicycles out on the back patio here, that you don't see in the videos. I'm not going to show certain parts of the house because it's, multiple people live here, and I don't want to, don't want to give it all up to the viewers. So, but I mean, the place it's not complete. It looks really bad, but it's not as trashed as it actually looks. I've got some groceries to put away. I've got some clean. This is from my cold brew coffee session recently. And the video that you're about to watch is actually from days ago. I decided that I'm going to feed you videos in smaller doses, but when I went to put the video together, it was missing the whole Mr. Rogers coming into the crib, changing into his sweater routine thing that I've been doing for the beginning of the videos. And so I had to shoot one. So you're going to go back in time and you're going to see me talking about some stuff from a few days ago. And then I don't know how many days from today you'll see me talking about riding those bicycles and talking about what went on today and some other. It's been a crazy, it's been a mind-numbing weekend. I'm not going to say it was bad. I'm going to say that some things have been happening all at once that I'm not sure what to make of it. But it's kind of like signs and wonders time. And I'll talk to all of you about that in a video coming up. But there's going to be a few videos. Everything's kind of out of sync right now because I'm recording whenever I feel like sitting down and recording, but I'm only going to put out videos that are about an hour long now. It's just, I'm kind of sick and tired of doing the 5 hour thing. So I'm just gonna keep them on some sort of topic, or it might just be me burned out sitting in a chair. That's pretty much what I do right now. But I spent this whole day busy. You can see the aftermath of me not. I had two options for today being Sunday. Option number one, and I made it dependent on the weather. Option number one, if the weather was going to be bad, if it was going to be storming outside and just downpouring and just bad weather, I was going to take a day off, a down day. I was going to literally sit in this chair right here, watch a TV, watch my laptop, open up this desk and set up my laptop as a TV. And I was just going to literally sit there all day and watch movies and stuff and do absolutely nothing. And I mean nothing. The other option was if the weather is nice. And so the nice weather means I'm going to get up and I'm going to get my bicycles ready, and I'm going to get both of the bicycles ready because I'm sick and tired of having this brand new road bike that I haven't ridden. And so today the weather, it wasn't great. It was overcast all day, but it was warm. It was a bit humid, but it was, in the 80s, mid 80s, pretty humid, but was still a good day to get things done. And as a result, I got two bicycles ready. I had to make a trip to Home Depot and back. That's about 2 to 3 miles of walking just to get some stuff so I could work on the bikes. Came back, did all the bicycle work. It took about 4 or 5 hours. I did it at a relaxed pace. I turned on a TV that's out on the covered patio here, and I watched some auto racing while I was doing there were some other things that there was a lot of different things to pick from to watch, and there's certain things I just can't watch because it brings back memories I don't want to have right now. It's things that I like to watch, that I used to like to watch, that I don't like to watch now because of the memories it triggers, and I just don't want to have it. So I watched some auto racing while I worked on my bicycles, and then after that, I went over and did my grocery shopping at Target, so that's out of the way. And now I'm going to put this video together, upload it, and you're going to see what I was talking about a few days ago. And then you're going to see a few more videos pop up, and then you're going to see me sitting in the chair over here, continuing where I leave off now. Because I do have some things I want to talk about that don't really have to do with what I did today, but just like some general observations about what's going on and around me right now that might be interesting to you guys. So keep in touch, keep checking in. It'll be sometime this week. And I'm just going to leave it at that. What's up, everybody? It's your boy Adam. It is Tiny Housin, volume 36. And I'm really going to try to cut these videos back down to a digestible length. I really don't know how I'm going to keep moving forward with the channel. It's not that I'm going to stop. I just don't know. I'm having a hard time fitting everything, and I'm having a hard time, period. I want to do this. And so what's been happening is I don't have a lot of time to sit in front of my computer on the days that I ride my bicycle a lot. So there's this schedule that I've made. It's like a mosquito hawk flying around, I think. And if I see him, he's gone. Anyway, there's a pattern that's developed over the last few weeks. And that is, the pattern basically Oh man, these so that was an awfully loud noise for a mosquito to have made. Um, the pattern is Friday starts the pattern. 40-mile bicycle ride, 8 hours at the bakery, come home, wiped out. I can sit in front of the camera and talk for a while, but it seems like I'll just sit and talk for over an hour and just ramble about a bunch of stuff. And it's really, this is like a blog of what's going on. How the guy who ended up homeless after 2 years in federal prison over some mean tweets, how's this guy putting his life back together? That's what the point of this whole channel is. But I'll come home from 40 miles of cycling, 8 hours at the bakery, sit in this chair, and be wiped out. And so I'll just talk to you guys. Right now, I pulled out a couple of camera tripods, and so I'm just gonna keep these stationed around the tiny house. What the? I'm sorry, man. I just keep hearing a loud noise that sounds like a bug crashing into something, but the bug must be this big. I don't know. You might see me jump out of my chair and go attack something. I don't know what this is that I'm hearing. But, what was I going to say? So, there's a lot of time to sit in a chair and talk to you guys. Because I don't got much else to do in terms of energy. When I come home from 40 miles of cycling and 8 hours of working at a physically demanding job, I'm wiped out. And what's happening is I'm doing it for a few days in a row. So you've got Friday, Saturday, same thing. Get up, do it all over again. And then Sunday is supposed to be like a rest day. Go to church, grocery shopping, tidy up the place, but generally just relax. I need to tune up my bicycles. Both of them need a tune-up now. I've put hundreds of miles on the Red Rocket since the last time I gave it a significant tune-up, which was within the last month, but I've put miles on it, and it needs, these things need to happen. And so the last 2 Sundays in a row beat me up because I had to clean the tiny place because of the work that the landlord had done and getting stuff all over the place and making a mess. I knew there was going to be a mess. It wasn't like I came home and it was a surprise. But 2 weeks in a row of having to do that on Sunday and losing my entire Sunday to that, 2 weeks in a row. Then Monday is the worst of the physical demanding nature of the job that I ride my bicycle 40 miles for. 20 miles to the job, and then lifting thousands of pounds of stock and all that, and then riding a bike 20 miles to get home. And that was enough. And here's the thing, I don't even mind. In fact, I prefer going in to do the heavy lifting and stockpiling and sorting out all of our inventory and all of that, because it's different than the other days I'm there. Sometimes it takes a few hours to do all of that work, and it's a nice break from what I would normally be doing in the bakery. So I like doing that work. I don't look like I'm enjoying it when I do it, but I don't mind it. It's good exercise. I basically say it's like going to Planet Fitness with a free membership every week. And so I get, it is what it is. But to say you're not going to come home from that and be completely wiped out and exhausted is a stretch. And so I come home from that. I'm exhausted. Then yesterday, Tuesday, that's supposed to be my first recovery day. And instead I had to go on another 40-mile bicycle ride for a job interview. On the way home, it was 90 degrees. It was over 90 degrees out in the streets. I can tell you that. I'm a good human thermometer. I can generally estimate what the temperature is and only be a couple of degrees off. I've always been good at estimating the temperature without having to have a thermometer to look at. And when I do have a thermometer to look at, I'm usually like within a degree or two. No matter what the temperature is, my body, just 90 feels different than 87. And they're not too far apart. But I can tell when we cross that line and it's 90, and yesterday was 90. My app, when I got home, said 89. And I can tell you out on the open road, that it's not blacktop. Most of the roads here in Houston are concrete. But out on the open road, that's probably 92, 93. So, and I was feeling it. I had to drink more water than I normally do because what happens in the extreme heat is that you'll feel your body crash, and it's almost instantaneously. You'll go from having all this energy to having like none, and in the blink of an eye. And I started to feel that on the ride home yesterday 2 or 3 times. And I was like, okay, I don't want to stop. But next time I have to stop for a red light, grab your water bottle, take a big drink. Next time you stop at a red light, take a water bottle, take a big drink. I wasn't carrying a Camelback bladder. So, but it might get hot enough to where I would have 2, 3 water bottles and a Camelback. If things continue to go the way they're going, I could put a water bladder in the backpack that I take to and from these trips, and with a hose coming out to drink, it would give me another 2 liters of water that are easily accessible. But for now, I'm fine. I didn't even drink all the water that I had yesterday, but every time I would take a big drink of water and start cycling again, I would instantly feel the boost of energy from it. But so that was Friday, Saturday. Sunday was basically spent cleaning the tiny house all day, which is physical. It's not the same level as riding a 40-mile bike ride and lifting heavy things all day at a job, but it was still tiring. I still had to walk a mile to the grocery store with a heavy backpack, get 40 pounds of groceries, walk a mile back carrying a 40-pound backpack, plus all the walking around the grocery store and everything. That adds up. And so I still got plenty of exercise on Sunday. So it was basically Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, all really heavy exercise days. And today I woke up and I had nothing to give. I had to deal with a little bit of the landlord stuff today. I don't know the exact details, but he had somebody in here looking at what's going on with the hot water situation, and I don't know what's going on there. I don't know who it was, or I don't know why they were here, but something's going on with that. I hope in the right direction. Supposedly he's paid the contractors 50% of the estimate to do the work, and now he's basically waiting for the contractors to show up and do the job. And a lot of people have been telling me I should put my foot down and get angry and throw my weight around and all of that. And there's days where I want to, but I actually like this guy. I think he's a good guy. I think I lucked out when I found this place, and I really felt like I had a good rapport with the guy right off the bat. And I really haven't had any issues. I know for a fact that a lot of the other places I was looking at, I would have been dealing with worse problems and worse people. every single other place that I either looked at or tried to schedule a time to look at. There was another place that I was going to look at on the day I came to look at this place, and I canceled that appointment because I had set up this appointment, and out of the two options, this one felt like it was calling me more than the other place was. There were pros and cons to both situations. I heard a loud accident outside today on this road. This is something I hear about like 2 or 3 times a week. I don't know if you know what a car accident sounds like, but when two cars smash into each other going, 30, 40 miles an hour, it doesn't sound like what it sounds like on TV. It's just a loud metallic bang! And sometimes there's a couple of subsequent bangs. I heard a loud accident today. Like it sounded like a car got totaled. And this road is so crazy that I live on right now that I'm hearing car accidents. I'll be sitting here and I'll just hear bang, like it's loud, and it's like just a loud smash. It's not like they make car accidents sound in movies and on TV. It's just a loud smash, fast, And I've heard at least, I'm gonna say I've heard 10 bad accidents just while I sit in this tiny house over the last month and a half, out on this crazy ass road that I live on. And I feel like, I'm telling you, yesterday I went into the city from here south, and the drivers weren't as crazy. I think I'm on the border of where the city begins and the suburbs begin. Like the city ends and the suburbs begin. I honestly think that this road that goes past my house here is like the border. South of this road is the city of Houston, and north of this road is the asshole-filled suburbs. I feel like that is the dividing line. It may not be completely accurate in my assessment there, but I think that there's something to that, because yesterday's bike ride, there was a couple horn honkings and some middle fingers going back and forth, but overall, it was a more peaceful ride. The roads that I take to go to the bakery, there's a road here that's 2 lanes in each direction with no shoulders. Every now and then somebody honks their horn. Every now and then there's some middle fingers going to and fro. But for the most part, it's not so bad. Then there's a 6-mile long bicycle trail that also goes through, after you get off the bicycle trail, you're going through a residential neighborhood that's very quiet with slow streets. It's just as tranquil and peaceful as the bike trail itself. You're really not going to be dealing with, every once in a while, one of these assholes honks their horn at me, the McMansion dwelling assholes, because I'm in the way of him getting to his McMansion, and he can't drive around on a 4-lane road. And so then there's this third road that's like a north-south road, and it's a pretty main route because it's one of the only ways to get across Spring Creek. It's called Gosling Road. And it takes you into the woodlands. That is where all the trouble is on my bike ride. Most of the time, if I'm getting harassed, trying to be run off the road, honked at, screamed at, everything else, 9 out of 10 is on that road. And that's a 20-minute segment. Each chunk of my bike ride to the bakery is 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes, and then there's a half-hour segment. It seems to be how it shakes out for whatever reason. Sometimes my whole ride is an hour and 10. Sometimes it's an hour and 20. Sometimes it's I'd say most of the time when I'm putting in minimal effort and I'm just turning the pedals and going whatever speed, my moderate heart rate will take me, it's about an hour and a half. Um, so to to get that bike ride done in an hour, I would really have to push hard. If I can switch to the other bicycle, that might change. All that stuff might change. Um, Part of it's carrying a heavy backpack, and there's other reasons, but um, this bike ride into Houston was all. There was one residential neighborhood that's behind the house I live in here. There's like a whole residential neighborhood back there that's very quiet and cul-de-sac-y. It's not McMansions. They're most I don't really see any McMansions back there. It's a mix of older and newer housing developments. Some of them, some really cool houses that are actually kind of small, like not McMansions, but housing developments. You can tell that these developments have been around for a long time because they're not McMansions, but the neighborhoods are quiet and the streets are quiet and the houses are pretty close together, but they seem to be better built homes than a McMansion complex. Um, More solid homes. And so I ride through that, and then I get on, and then there's basically two roads that are 4 lanes, 2 lanes in each direction with no shoulders. And then there's a couple of little stretches where there's some stress, some major crazy roads. But those are about a half mile each. So I got this ride to this place yesterday figured out to where 90% of it's going to be on 4 lane roads, city roads, that are full of traffic lights and 2 lanes in each direction with no shoulder, but plenty of room to pass. And I didn't really have any issues. I had 2 horn honking events out of the 40 miles, one each direction. One was an asshole in a giant pickup truck just honking and screaming as he went by. And when he got to the red light, I got to return the favor as I rode past his driver's side window. I said, "Hey, you forgot something." Next time I passed him, I was like, "You dropped something back there, but I picked it up for you." And we just, we went on our separate ways. The other one was on one of the interstate one of the interstate access roads, the road that runs alongside the interstate. And this guy had 2 lanes. I was on the right side of the right lane, and he starts blaring his horn about 500 to 1,000 feet behind me, and just hit the horn button and kept his hand on the horn button. And as he passed me, he's flicking me off and screaming at me, and then he kept his hand on the horn button as he went off into the distance up ahead, while I had my middle finger like this, hoping he would look in his rearview mirror and see me. But that's about, it's pretty much all I can do. I wish there was something more I could do for these people, but there's only so much I can do. I mean, seriously, man, if I had powers like a Jedi Knight, there would be people in the ditch left and right on my way home. If I could just be like Darth Vader and go like that, throw some guy into a ditch. They wouldn't have enough tow trucks in Houston to clean up the ditches. Just from one ride to the bakery and back. But yesterday it felt more like a regular city ride. It felt like a regular, it didn't feel like Houston. It didn't feel like this awful experience yesterday. It felt like riding in just about any other city in America. And it just kind of made me think. I'm like, at some point yesterday, I don't know where that line is. There's no sign that says you are now in the city of Houston, but there was a point where I crossed the line from the suburbs to the city because the hostility went down. The roads that I was on should have been a lot more hostile. based on the similar roads that I've been riding all along. But because I'm in the city now, people don't give a fuck. They're not confrontational. It's not like they're going out of their way to be friendly. They're just indifferent, which is fine with me. Just leave me the fuck alone. I'll leave you alone. We'll all get along. We can all use the road. No horn honkings, no assholes, no obnoxious behavior on roads that out in the shitty rich asshole suburbs where I've been riding, these roads are completely full of psychotic nut jobs. And so it's kind of reinforcing this whole concept of all the assholes live in the suburbs. The suburbs of America are just full of dirtbags. And it's the one place that I don't like to be in terms of it, just in general in life. I don't want to live in the suburbs. I don't want to be in the suburbs. I don't like to visit the suburbs. I don't like anything about the suburbs. I hate. If you ask me where I would like to be when I travel, when I go on my travels, I'm either in the middle of the city. I'm either in the city or I'm out in the country, out in the middle of nowhere. I skip the suburbs. I don't hang out. I don't stop in the suburbs. I don't eat in the suburbs. I don't like the suburbs at all. I just do not like them. And I think yesterday, I don't know exactly where that line is. I have a feeling I know where it is. Like, there is an actual line, and I think I can put it on the map. Like, when you cross this line, people are going to behave differently because now you're in the city. But when you go north of this line, people are going to be psychotic nut jobs because now you're in the suburbs. But I don't know. It's kind of like the line isn't quite exactly on the map yet. But if I were to do some of these bike rides more, I'd be able to pinpoint the exact street where you cross this street and all of a sudden people are chill. You go north of that street, everybody on the road's a psychotic lunatic trying to run you off the road and destroy you. And so it's an interesting thing that I've observed in every city I've ever been to. And especially when you're on a bicycle, it's so much more pronounced because you're basically the target of everybody's hatred when you're on the road riding a bicycle. And so how often people, and how not only the ratio of how many people are assholes to you versus how many people leave you alone, it's also the extreme nature of how people are assholes to you. And time again, like I'm having a flashback to the time that I rode from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania to Rochester, New York, and I had to go through, I had to leave downtown Pittsburgh and go up to Erie, Pennsylvania, and then from Erie, Pennsylvania to Buffalo, New York. And I stayed in a hotel in Hamburg, New York, which is the suburbs. It's right next to where the Buffalo Bills stadiums are. And it is the suburbs. And that whole area, as I was approaching that hotel, as I was coming from, like, the country, wine country, the winery region, into the Buffalo suburbs, it was marked. It was like all of a sudden every car's honking at you, screaming at you, throwing shit at you, middle fingers, temper tantrums, psychotic nut jobs, people trying to run you off the road, all of it. One after the next after the next after the next. I get to the hotel in Hamburg, it's and then the next day, awful. Just being treated completely awful all the way into the city of Buffalo. I took a road that had a dedicated bicycle lane. It was 2 lanes, north-south road. It was 2 lanes north, 2 lanes south with a dedicated bicycle lane on the right-hand side of the road. So 2 lanes for cars plus a dedicated bicycle lane with a solid white line, bicycle icons every 50 feet, signs saying, share the road, you fucking pieces of shit, and all of it. And I had people driving past me on that road, swerving into the bicycle lane, trying to shove me off the road. I had horn honking, middle fingers, temper tantrums. A couple of people drove by and threw shit at me out the passenger side window. That was basically starting from Hamburg, south of Buffalo. And at some point, as I crossed the imaginary line, I think, well, in this case, there is a sign that says Buffalo and All America City or something like that. Soon as I cross that sign, it's chill. No problems. No problems. I'm riding all through Buffalo. I'm literally riding through downtown Buffalo. I go past the arena where the Buffalo Sabres play, and there was a festival going on. I even got off my bike and walked around the festival for a minute, but I was kind of I was up there because my mom was about to pass away, so I was like, as much as I would like to stop and do a couple things, I got to make tracks. I wanted to get to my mom's house that day, and I was in Buffalo. That's about an hour's drive from where my mom lived, on the thruway at 60 miles an hour and 65, 70 miles an hour or whatever. It's like an hour's drive to Buffalo. So I decided, that's still going to be another 4 hours for me to bicycle there. So I want to mess around. But I get north of Buffalo, and as soon as I see the sign, North Tonawanda, which is the first suburb north of Buffalo, boom! Once again, all of a sudden, every single car driving by, screaming at me, honking at me, trying to run me off the road, throwing things, middle fingers, fuck you, you fucking scumbag, all these things, like, fuck you, you fucking piece of shit, get off the fucking road, you fucking asshole, and just non-stop. All the way until I got to the entrance of the Erie Canal towpath, which is a bicycle trail that basically runs from North Tonawanda across the state, more or less. It's not a really great bicycle trail, and there are sections where it just doesn't even exist. You have to switch from one side of the canal to the other, and then there's some other sketchy... But I used to ride on this thing when I was a kid, and so I knew how to put it all together from my childhood, so it wasn't like... there were other cyclists on the trail, and they couldn't figure out where to go. There was a guy who was riding on the other side of the canal from me, because in some places the trail is on both sides of the canal, and all of a sudden I'm riding along, and then all of a sudden he's coming up behind me asking me to slow down and stop, and he's asking me, he's like, how the hell do you navigate this trail? Like, he was on his way across the country, and he had actually come from Toronto into America, and he was on his way across New York and up into Maine or something. I don't know. He was on a long ride. And he was asking me, and I said, don't worry, I grew up here. Follow me. And we basically hung out the whole afternoon for 3 hours riding down the canal path. And I showed him all the ins and outs. I'm like, okay, up here, we got to go up on this bridge. We got to cross to the other side. We go down here. At some point, there won't be a canal trail. We have to take this road that follows the canal until we get to the next town. Then we can get back on the canal trail and take that. And once we get to a certain point, you can just take once we get to a certain point, you can stay on the canal trail all the way to Rochester, New York. You won't have any problem. You will have a few problems, because there's a lot of places where you just have to know the trail stops, and then you have to cross a bridge and get on the trail on the other side of the bridge, and there's no real maps, and it's not real. I just know it because when I was a kid, when Generation X, when we were kids, our parents would just say, get the fuck out of the house and don't come back until school's about to start. And so me and my friends, man, we went places. We were on our bicycles, and we would... if our parents knew the shit we did, oh my God. But they're all dead now, so too late. Too late to find out about that. Um, but as a result of that childhood of freedom, I know how to ride the Erie Canal Trail from Buffalo to Rochester, New York. And so and yeah, like every time I go on these bicycle rides, especially when you're going on a long distance and you're going from one city to another, the way people treat you in the suburbs is totally different than out in the country. If they honk at you, if the people in the country honk at you, they're honking at you to be friendly. You might get mad. Like sometimes I'll be like, "What the?" And I'll look over and people will be like, "Hey!" And I'll just be like, "All right, what's going on?" And I'll be like, give them a little greeting, right? And we're all cool, and everybody's just. People will pull up beside me and roll down their window and say, "Hey, how you doing? Everything? You having a good time? Where you headed?" And they're just like friendly people. I could deal with those. I could deal with that shit all day. Yeah, you're gonna get an asshole that honks at you every now and then. It doesn't matter where you are, that will happen. But out in the country, it's like 1 out of 100 people that pass you. And like I said, if they honk at you, there's a 80% chance that they're honking to be friendly. They don't, but, and in the city, people aren't going out of their way to say hi or be friendly or wave. Like, you can see another bicyclist and wave, and they're just going to be like, talk to the hand, bitch. Like, they don't even care. Everybody's indifferent, and they all got their own thing going on, and nobody cares. Everybody's just going about their day, doing their thing. But on the flip side, they're not going out of their way to be an asshole to you. You're not. Every now and then, you might get honked at. Somebody might cut out in front of you. Somebody might run a red light. You got to be a little bit careful. But by and large, people driving around the city aren't out to, like, they're not going out of their way to be an asshole to you. You cross into the suburbs, in any city in America, totally different. Totally different. It's going to be like 1 out of every 5 people that go by you, not just honking their horn, but actively trying to run you off the road, screaming at you out the window, throwing things at you. A couple of weeks ago, a guy came up beside me and rode right next to me, blocking traffic, by the way, so that he could roll down the passenger side window and scream and yell at me as I'm riding. And as I speed up, he stayed parallel with me going down the road and literally spent like 5 minutes as we went down this road together screaming and yelling at me because he didn't think I deserved to be on the road. And I'm like, all I remember is the one thing that I remember him saying, because I really couldn't understand him, I couldn't hear him. I had my music on, and I wasn't turning my music off, because fuck him. I don't care what you have to say. But the only thing I heard him say is like, "What the fuck do you think I'm supposed to do?" And I'm like, I don't know. Hold up traffic for the next 3 miles while you drive next to me screaming and yelling like a fucking asshole? Because that's what you're doing. I mean, I don't know what else you could be. You could just be going to your fucking job and get over it. I was like, dude, don't play with me right now. Like, I could have just grabbed a fucking water bottle and just dumped a bottle of coffee. I could have taken the lid off my bottle and just threw my fucking coffee at him through the open window and then said, "See you later, dickwad, have a nice day." And I could have just got right on the fucking bicycle trail that parallels the road and disappeared into the fucking sunrise. Like, I could have done that. In fact, I'm not even going to say I wish I did, because these are the kind of complications I could bring into my life that would cause me to have problems with my probation officer. So, let's just take the high road and not throw. Plus, I would get to work and I wouldn't have any fucking coffee to drink. And that would make me feel even worse. So, it's a good thing I didn't do it. But, there was a bicycle ride in Pittsburgh a called critical mass, and this is something that the liberals came up with. So, I'm friends with the liberals too sometimes. I mean, not anymore, but this is like back in the day when I used to be friends with the Republicans and the Democrats, and we could all get along. This was like, back in the early 2000s. This bicycle ride would take place in cities all across America. It was called Critical Mass. Last Friday of the month, you would meet someplace in Pittsburgh. You would meet next to the big dinosaur outside of the Carnegie Library in Oakland. And it was just a big group bicycle ride, and it was meant, the purpose of it was to show people that bicycles are allowed to be on the city streets too. And these are huge bike rides. There would be like, when the weather was nice, there would be like 400 to 500 people showing up to go on critical mass. And so imagine how many city blocks long a group of 500 people on bicycles takes up. And like literally, we're in a crowd of bicycles that is taking up like 15 city blocks, taking up the full width of the road. So no cars can pass us. We are taking up the entire width of the road, 15 blocks long. What are you going to do about that? And so, but it was kind of like, it wasn't exactly a protest, but it wasn't like, and this was a family-friendly ride. Like I brought my daughter a couple of times. By the time my son was old enough that critical mass kind of died and went away at one point. But 500 people on bicycles, families with their kids, and everyone this was the one bike ride where all cyclists would show up and get along. You would have the Lance Armstrong road racing crowd. You'd have all the mountain bikers showing up. You would have all the alley cat racers showing up. You would literally have 500 people on bicycles all showing up at once to go on a ride around the city for like 3 hours during rush hour. And so a lot of these drivers would get fucking mad. There's videos on YouTube right now that I shot of this bike ride a long time ago. You could just type in Pittsburgh critical mass and you'll find a video there that was filmed by me and another guy back in like the early 2000s. And so drivers would act fucking crazy, like psychotic nut jobs. And because they couldn't stand the fact. Now, on any given Friday during rush hour, they're going to be stuck in traffic all the way out of the city. Why? Because the streets are clogged with cars, everything's at a standstill, and nobody's moving. There's traffic jams every day, especially on Friday afternoon. And so it's no different when the streets are clogged with bicycles. At least we're moving. And but the drivers would get extra angry because now it's bicycles in front of them instead of cars. And so now it's the bicyclist's fault that they're going to be 5 minutes late getting home from work and all that crap. Well, this one guy, people did some psychotic nut job shit. We would protect the children. We would tell the children to ride in the middle of the group, and we would surround any children that were there, especially the younger ones. We would have them surrounded by adults, like 6 layers deep. So keep that in mind. Like we're protecting our own, and there's 500 of us. You're gonna have a hard time. It's like a herd of elephants. They keep the young elephants in the middle of the circle, and then the big bull elephants are surrounding all the weak ones. And if a lion shows up to try and steal an elephant calf, guess what? Good fucking luck. Good luck. Let's see what happens if you're going to throw down. So it's the same concept in a group of 500 bicyclists. The weaker ones go to the middle of the herd, and they're protected by the strong on the outside of the herd. Well, this one dude was in a parking garage while 500 fucking bikes are going by 15 blocks worth. It's like waiting for a train to go. And this guy was in an open Porsche convertible in a parking garage trying to get out onto the road. Finally, he gets mad and he slams on the gas pedal and he runs over two people on a bike. Runs over two cyclists. They got it on video. I'm sure some. So anyway, it wasn't even the bike ride wasn't even halfway past. So about 12 people surrounded the guy in the Porsche so he couldn't move anymore. A couple people got on their phones and called 911. There's a girl laying in the street, smashed up. Her bicycle is in pieces. Her wheels are all bent up. Like, he destroyed her bicycle. There's another one picking up the bicycle because he hit two bicyclists. He was screaming and yelling. He went through a psychotic fit and he ran two people over. One of whose bike was completely destroyed and she was laying on the ground, needed help. The other one was, he got up off the ground and he was picking up his bike. His bike was a little bit fucked up, but it looked like he'd be able to get back on and ride. But there were 12 people blocked this guy in with his Porsche. He's not going anywhere. And there's at least 250 more people coming by on their bicycles. And when they see what happened, every single one of these 250 people on their bicycles opened up their water bottles. And as they drove by the Porsche, they dumped their fucking water bottles out in this guy's car. They splashed him with the water bottles as they went by. This guy got 250 water bottles full of Gatorade and water and coffee and whatever the fuck else they're carrying, booze even, dumped all over the inside of his Porsche, all over his business suit, all over his hair and his face. Needless to say, this guy was losing his fucking mind, but then the cops came and arrested him for running over two fucking bikers. And, like, that's how it goes, bitch. Karma is a motherfucker. And for that guy, he did not end up having a nice day. He's going off to jail. His Porsche's being towed. So by the time he even gets his fucking car back, imagine how much that's going to stank and how much that cleanup job's going to be. I don't know what happened in terms of the cyclists getting their bicycle repaired and medical bills paid, but no, you're not gonna show up and do a psychotic nut job move like that to a group of 500 people on bicycles without paying a price, a heavy price. All you would have had to do was sit in the fucking parking garage for about another 2 minutes, and then the bicyclists would have been on their merry way, and you could have gone on with your fucking day. But, I hope you enjoyed prison, you fucking douchebag. Because that's where you ended up. Shit, that was so long ago, I wouldn't even be able to look it up and find out what happened. I think it was in the news. I don't know. But, he obviously lived in some McMansion out in the rich suburbs. I don't know which one, probably east of Pittsburgh. It seemed like the direction he was trying to go. And, north, south, east, west, these rich assholes live everywhere in these, suburbs that surround Pittsburgh. Just like any other city on earth. But they're the worst people. And, so that was there was a lot of other crazy stuff. This one guy he threw a raging temper tantrum and he pulled into the bus lane and started driving the wrong way on a one-way bus lane and almost got into a head-on collision with a city bus because he was throwing a psychotic temper tantrum. And the cops came and took his ass away too because the bus driver called 911 on him. Because he got into the one-way bus lane going the wrong direction and was like speeding, almost hit a bus head-on, and then once again he was surrounded by cyclists and the bus and pedestrians on the sidewalk. Everybody blocked this guy in so he couldn't move. They called 911. The cops came and took him away. For the same, because there was all kinds of video of what happened too, because a lot of us would wear helmet cameras for various reasons. And so, oh God, what else? I mean, this is the kind of stuff that would happen. But for some reason, seeing people on their bicycles makes people go batshit crazy. You know, they'll be stuck in a traffic jam every Friday, taking just as long to get home as any other Friday because it's a traffic jam. It's a fucking city. It's a metropolitan area. You show me a city that doesn't have traffic jams at rush hour, and I'll give you $5 because it doesn't exist. But when there's bicyclists on the road, oh shit, that's a whole nother ball game. That's a whole nother ball game. So that was a lot of fun being in a group of 500 people who were out specifically to clog the roads and to just ride our bikes around the city as a massive group. And now we own the road today. And now you're in our way. And we get to treat the drivers like shit for a change and enjoy the fact that, you know, the chances of us getting run over by a driver are pretty slim, but it can happen. It did happen a couple of times. But in the herd, when you mess with a herd of animals like that, you know, there was a video on YouTube that went viral recently where a lion tried to eat a baboon and tried to grab a baboon. And timer went off, my laundry's done, so I'm going to end this video, and I think I'm just going to, I've got one more thing to talk about before I end it, but I'm going to tell you the baboon story, and then I got one handy tip about living in a tiny house. So there were these baboons, and a lion or a tiger tried to eat a baboon, and the baboon's like, leave me alone, it got me. And all these other baboons in this herd of baboons are like, the fuck you are. And all these baboons jumped on the tiger and started ripping that tiger apart. And these baboons got fangs like this long. And this tiger's like, oh shit, now the tiger's laying on the ground and swatting at the baboons, trying to get the baboons off of it. And finally, like, the tiger's like struggling, like this tiger's about to get killed by these baboons, and the tiger fought his way out and got across the road with like 2 or 3 baboons still hanging on by their teeth. And the tiger finally gets to the other side of the road and shakes off the rest of the baboons, but the baboons are still chasing the tiger. And the tiger's like, and finally gets far enough away to where the baboons finally stop, and they're just like, what are you gonna do, bitch? You want some more? You want to come back? You want to come back for some more of this shit? What you gonna do, What you gonna do, bitch? Come on. And the tiger just looks back. It's like, no, I'm good, I'm out. And turned around and left. And that's what happens. I mean, one bicyclist against a bunch of cars gonna beat bicycle. You know, it's like rock, paper, scissors. If it's car, bicycle, pedestrian, you know, car beats bicycle, right? Every time. That's how the game works. But if you're one car messing with 500 people on bicycles, you're gonna be the one that loses every time. So don't fucking do it. Don't do it. If you see a group of bicyclists going down the road and you think you're gonna fucking win that contest, you're not. You're not. I've seen this play out a lot of times, and the cars never won that contest. Bicyclists are stronger in groups, so leave them the fuck alone. Stop being a psychotic nut job. We can all get to where we gotta go if you just stop acting like a douchebag. So with that, that's my segment. I'm gonna do one segment, one video at a time. Instead of stringing together a bunch of segments that are an hour each, even if it's every 5 days, I'm going to cut at the end of this talk. And then if I do more segments without pushing videos live, I'm just going to stack them up and I'm just going to separate them out as separate videos. And so for this video, I'm lazy. This is my recovery day. So I was talking about water bottles, and I pulled this out of the fridge. In fact, I'm thirsty. I'm recovering today. I'm dehydrated. All right, so I'm talking about storing water. And what I used to do when I stored water, when I wanted to create a 50-gallon supply of drinking water, so that, preparedness, so I'd have water to cook with, filtered water, clean filtered water to cook with, clean filtered water to drink at all times. I would also freeze bottles in the freezer to put in coolers when I travel, and also as a way to, if the power goes out, to keep the food in my freezer from going bad. Because large blocks of ice, then it'll basically turn your freezer into a cooler for a while. And so I used to use 2-liter pop bottles, but I'm not drinking soda anymore. I don't like it. I had some Dr. Pepper yesterday. I had to change my clothes in a Burger King for this job interview. And the Burger King was right next door. They have a public bathroom, so I'm like, I'll go there. I ate. I'm kind of getting sick of Burger King, I'm not going to lie, but the food was actually pretty good at that Burger King compared to the Burger King next door to where I live. There was a noticeable improvement in the quality. So props to the North Houston Burger King. I don't even know what road at the north, the Route 45 access road Burger King next to the plaza with a bunch of stores. That's the only explanation I have as to where it's located. But you did a good job. The food was actually pretty good for fast food. They didn't mess anything up. It was better than the Burger King here next to my house. But I had some Dr. Pepper, and that's the only time I'm probably going to drink soda for the next 3 months. And so I don't have 2-liter pop bottles. And so I've showed you that I've tried using the bottles that the cold brew coffee came in. They have 48-ounce bottles for that. They're okay. The caps don't fit quite tight enough. Some of the caps have a rubber seal like this. You can see that this cap has a rubber seal, which helps seal the cap onto the bottle. And a lot of the caps on those the cold brew coffee bottles weren't. When you tighten the cap, it slips because the threads aren't tight. And so there's a lot of these bottles that as you tighten the cap down, it just slips and it strips the threads, if you will, or the threads slip and you can't get the cap to screw on tight. So I can't trust those bottles if I needed, like if I had a car and I wanted to throw some water in the trunk, throw some bottles of water in the trunk. I can't trust those bottles because you go over a pothole, the cap's going to pop off and leave water all over the back of your car. If you drop a bottle, the cap's going to come off. The coffee bottles, there's 2 sizes. The concentrated coffee bottles are the worst because they leave the coffee aftertaste is still in those bottles. I've refilled them a few times and I'll taste the water and I can still taste a coffee aftertaste fused with the water. So I'm not digging those bottles very much. There's some other, I've been getting these bottles of lemonade and different fruit juices off of the ones that aren't stored cold, the ones that are the fruit juices like the apple juice, cranberry juice, lemonade, and there's a few other kinds of juice that you can get in the aisles of the grocery store that aren't stored cold. So you can buy them, bring them home, and keep them warm until you're ready to put them in the fridge and you've got room for that. So that's one way that I'm stocking up on different fruit juices and lemonade and things like that. By buying them at room temperature, the ones that can be stored that way. Those bottles are okay for the water storage, but the best ones so far have been the Tropicana orange juice. Now you'll see this one says no pulp, and that's because this Target that I go to sucks. They only have the only orange juice that they sell with medium pulp. I don't want concentrate. I want fresh squeezed orange juice, and I don't want tons of pulp in my orange juice, but I don't want no pulp either. You can call me Goldilocks. You know, just like a lot of you people are bitching in the comments about how my video's too short, then my video's too long, then my video's too short, then my video's too long. I'm like Goldilocks when it comes to orange juice. No pulp, that's not enough pulp. Lots of pulp is too much pulp. I want medium pulp. I want that to be just right. And so the only brand that they sell at Target that has the medium level of pulp is these Tropicana bottles. But last weekend, I wanted to get two because they're always on sale. You got to buy two, and you get a deal for buying two. So I had to buy two, but they only had one with the low pulp. And so I had to get one with no pulp. But these Tropicana bottles, they are 46 ounces, and I can squeeze the shit out of this bottle, and this cap isn't going to pop off. That one's sealed. But this is like a 2-liter pop bottle in terms of strength. I already know I could take this bottle and throw it against a rock, and this cap's not going to pop off. This cap fits really, really tight. It's got a rubber seal. It's 46 ounces. I don't know how that translates to liters, but that's a decent sized bottle of water. It's definitely, it's more than I can drink it. I can drink a 20-ounce bottle, those crinkly, crappy, single-use water bottles. I can drink one of those 20-ouncers in about 5 seconds. When I'm at my bakery job, we have pallets of those in the back for the employees. I'll grab one, I'll pop the cap off, done, and I crunch it up and throw it in the trash. I don't take a second sip. That's like one drink for me. 20 ounces. 46 ounces, it takes me a little bit of time to go through that. It's a good amount of water, especially, when you're really thirsty, you just got home from a 40-mile bicycle ride, you need some water. I still can't chug 48 ounces at once. That's a bit much. I can drink it in like 15 minutes, but I can't chug it all at once. But these bottles here, out of all the different bottles that I'm getting, plastic bottles that I'm trying to store things in, these orange juice bottles are the best. These labels, they peel right off. They don't leave any residue behind. They peel off. Watch, I'll just peel this one off because it don't matter. Here we go. Done. No residue at all. No sticky residue, nothing. The label just peels right off. Easy, super easy. It's the easiest label to remove out of any of the bottles that I've stockpiled. There's no glue left over. There's nothing. No nothing. It's just these come right off. Like I said, they're a good size. They're transportable. If you're storing 5 gallons, if you're storing water in 5-gallon bottles, you have to keep in mind that that's 40 pounds. A gallon of water is 8 pounds. So that's 40 pounds of water plus the weight of the jug, plus the size of the jug. Water gets really hard to carry around and transport. You could carry the same amount of water in bottles like this, and you could probably use something like a milk crate or some other box, a heavy-duty box, to carry the same amount of water in without having to break your back and find a place to keep. It's harder to store a 5-gallon water jug than it is to store 5 gallons worth of water in bottles like this. Let's say this isn't even really a half gallon. I don't know, a half gallon, 64 ounces. So, 3 of these is something like a gallon. So if you could carry around 15 of these in I don't know how many would fit in a milk crate. I think that's going to be like a experiment that I do. But out of all the water bottles that I've tried out, all the plastic bottles that I've saved and filled with water, these are by far the best, these orange juice ones. There's no orange juice aftertaste in my water. All I got to do is rinse it out with some soap and water, let them dry, fill them up, and there's no orange after. Even there might be just a hint, just a slight hint of a citrusy aftertaste. But I love drinking lemon. I like water with lemon all the time. I drink water with lemon, so a little bit of a citrus tinge to my water doesn't bother me at all. And it's not, honestly, I really don't taste it. You use one of these bottles twice, you're not going to taste any of that citrus aftertaste. So these bottles, plus they are constructed that they will hold pressure, and if you were to freeze one of these in the freezer, and the water, it's not going to crack the plastic when it expands. They're not designed the same as a 2-liter pop bottle, but these are some sturdy bottles. So I get 2 things of orange juice every time I go grocery shopping. So that's 8 of these bottles I'm going to pick up per month. And what I'm going to do is this area over here, I'll just take you over there. Oops. So I've decided for now that this area next to my water filter system is going to be the only place that I store bottles of water. And so I'm just going to fill this space up with these orange juice bottles. As you can see, I got another one here. And so I am going to just fill this whole space. I'm going to replace all the bottles that I can't stand with the orange juice bottles and just chuck the ones that I don't like in the trash until I get this whole space filled up with the orange juice bottles that I like. Like these bottles here, these are the coffee creamer bottles. And these caps, I'll just show you if I can. You can see if I try to tighten this cap and I go boom like that, you can't tighten these caps at all. So these ones are the first ones to go. Those coffee creamer bottles are going to be the first ones to go. Those small, these are the bottles that the concentrated cold brew coffee came in. They're the worst in terms of leaving a coffee aftertaste. I've been using them for cooking. When I go to boil water, I grab the water out of those small bottles instead of the taller ones. These taller ones here, these ones are the store-bought cold brew coffee came in. And then I've got these bottles here, like these lemonade bottles. These ones aren't horrible either. The caps feel pretty good. I'll probably reuse those. But by far, these orange juice bottles for the water storage are working out pretty good. And as long as I keep buying the Tropicana orange juice, 2 bottles a week, I've already got I've already got like 6 of these things over the last few weeks. So after another month, I'm going to have, 8 more. And then another month, I'll have 8 more. So that'll be 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22. Within a couple of months, I'm going to have 22 of these bottles. And I will have gotten rid of the bottles that I don't like. But that's the space. Living in a tiny house, you got to manage your space well. And I do have other places and nooks and crannies I could store water. But to what point, I don't know. Because I need to have a stockpile of water to cook with. And I also need to have water on hand for when I make the cold brew coffee. I go through a lot of water. I go through 2 gallons of water just to brew it. And there's some other reasons why, and just having drinking water on hand. It's always good to have lots of water stocked up. But right about now, I feel like I am not even making a dent in that stockpile that you see under the water filter there. And that's a nice compact space. It's the perfect place to store water. And the next thing that I might do, being in a tiny house, I'm having problems with storing food. And so I might start getting some milk crates. And if I start, I'm going to look on Amazon, I'm going to see what they cost. And I might order 4 milk crates that can stack on top of each other, because milk crates are very sturdy. You can put a lot of weight in them and they won't buckle, they won't bow, they won't distort their shape. And like I said, you can stack them on top of each other and basically turn them into like food storage drawers. And then all I have to do is figure out where I can stack 4 or 5 milk crates on top of each other here in the tiny house without it getting in the way. Or like I could probably fit them. There's a few places I can see where I could possibly put them, but I'd have to move stuff around to make it fit. And so, as always, that's a challenge of living in a tiny house. You don't have a lot of space to work with, and you got to just make the space work. So there's a little bit of how to live in a tiny house, and some things that you can do and still have preparedness mindset, and still try to make your situation better. Focusing on water and drinks right now is a high priority for me, until I get that completely squared away. My next goal in the drinks department, I've got the cold brew. Now I can do 2 gallons of cold brew at a time. So I'm going to do 2 gallons of coffee tonight, get those brewing so that I can filter the bottles and have 2 gallons of coffee ready to get me through the weekend. That should last me through until my next day off from the bicycle. So I won't have to mess with brewing and filtering coffee on any day that I'm riding my bicycle 40 miles a day. That'll be a big help for me. And then I'm also going to do a batch of tea, either a gallon or 2 gallons of black tea. I could even, since the tea is in tea bags, I could probably do the tea at the same time I do the coffee, but it's a matter of how much space I have in the fridge right now. Because when you're brewing cold brew tea from tea bags, there's no filtration necessary, because you just empty you get rid of the tea bags. There's very little sediment that leaks from the tea bags into your tea. But I'll still do the same process with the tea, but I don't need the inset filter in the mason jar to do those. So I've got 4 mason jars with the inset filters for the coffee, and then I've got 2 mason jars that are empty that could be used to brew tea that's in tea bags. So if I had room in the fridge, I could do 2 gallons of coffee and a gallon of tea. But I don't think I can. I'm positive. I know I can fit 4 half-gallon jars. I'm almost positive that I can't make enough room to get 6 in that fridge, and that's okay. I mean, because that's a lot of coffee, and at some point after the coffee's done and I pour it into the milk jugs, the glass milk bottles that take up less room, I'll be able to turn around and maybe brew 1 or 2 things of tea. And so I'm going to get into that system. I'm going to make my coffee creamer. I'm going to start out with a caramel tres leches coffee creamer, caramel flavored. I did find on Amazon, I was able to find the flavored extracts that I used to use back in the day when I made all kinds of different coffee creamer flavors, specifically chocolate peanut butter cup creamer. Reese's, they had a Reese's peanut butter cup coffee creamer for a number of years, and it got discontinued. And this is how I figured out how to make a replacement that's healthier and better for you. So it's basic. I'll probably do another Cooking with Nothing episode. Maybe I'll make that a spin-off series on this channel and focus on, I've got some tripods out. I have a couple of cameras, a couple of GoPro cameras, and two cell phones that I can use. I can probably set up a quad camera arrangement. And I kind of watched a couple of cooking videos just that gave me ideas of how to do a cooking show or a cooking series where I don't have to talk while I cook. I can just film the whole thing and then narrate a voiceover on top of it after after I edit the whole thing together. So I've got an idea there. I think that could be something cool for this channel. Like call it Cooking with Nothing. And we'll just show you all the different things you can do when you have nothing to cook with. Obviously, you'll have to get some things if you have nothing. If you truly have nothing, you might need something. But I'm going to show you how to make the tres leches coffee creamer base that you can then flavor with vanilla extract, the peanut butter flavorings, and there's like 20 other flavorings that you can mix in with that. And it's a lot of experimentation and a lot of just seeing how it goes. But you can make some really good flavored coffee creamers that's actually much better than the chemical filled stuff that you buy at the grocery store. And so I'm going to do that over the next, probably not until Sunday. That's probably the day I'm going to make those. I do have enough coffee creamer store bought to last me from here until there. And let's see. So aside from getting my drink game more secure and the coffee creamers and all of that, I'm just going to continue to work on getting my cooking game a little bit more in order. And I was supposed to get an air fryer from the landlord. I don't know if he's going to... I don't know. I probably just have to remind him of that. See if he's still going to do it. I'm trying to back off on the landlord and just push him to get the hot water working so I can take hot showers. Anything else that he told me he was going to do, or this and that and the other thing, unless it's like an emergency or something that absolutely needs done, I'm just trying to back off and let it ride, because the hot water situation is the one that's really like got me worked up. And if I have to buy my own air fryer, if I have to buy my own dehumidifier even, so be it. Because it's something I can take with me when I move. And, it's always going to be something that's useful no matter where you live in a humid place like this. So those are the things that I'm planning on doing. And I'm really going to cap this video. And I'm going to try to keep them at like an hour-ish. I think that's probably the length that they're going to be. And I'm probably going to go back to trying to figure out a topic and a theme for each video. This one, I just kind of winged it. I didn't have any notes. But I am going to try and come up with a topic for each video from now on, and just kind of... If I make 5 videos before you see the first of the 5, I'll try to like separate them out and save 5 separate episodes and just push them up whenever I push them up, because they're not really dated in terms of like they don't need to go up the day I record them. This is timeless. These are timeless classics. They don't need to be, it's not like the 6 o'clock news and I'm talking about something that happened 3 days ago. The news these days, whatever story comes out in the news, whatever the big talk of the town is today, 3 days from now, we're not talking about that anymore. That's news from 3 days ago. We're not talking about the fires in California anymore. That was like 3 days ago. We're not talking about the guy that ran over all the protesters with his pickup truck. That was like 2 days ago. That's old. We're not talking about, Israel bombing the Gaza Strip, turning all the rubble into smaller pieces of rubble. That was like 3 days ago. We're done with that. That was like 3 days ago. So it's not like I'm a newscaster where I have 3 days to tell you the news of what happened today, and then we're not talking about this anymore. My stuff is more kind of like you could watch it 3 weeks from now and it's still going to be relevant. So with that, I'm going to let you all go. I'm going to go. I do have a video that just finished exporting. It's another 5-hour banger. And it'll take all night. It'll take a long-ass time to upload to YouTube. And even with that, I'll make a thumbnail. That doesn't take very long. I've got a process down for these. and I'm just going to keep plowing forward, and I'm going to try to be a little bit better on not dumping a week's worth of videos into one video file. And we'll go from there. Peace out.